Well, thank you very much. It is 7:04 on December 2nd, 2021. Welcome to the Town of Sherborn Select Board meeting. It looks like we have all Select Board members present. Please like to call the meeting to order and ask the Town Administrator to read the agenda, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we'll amend or approve the agenda and then a period of public comment. And then the first item is a consent agenda with a payroll warrant and setting the next meeting of December 16th and December 30th. Item 2 is annual tax classification hearing at 7:05 p.m. with Wendy Alassi, assessor. Then item 3 is Sherborn Yacht Club update with John Hyde, the Commodore. Item 4 is consideration of Eagle Scout proclamations for Gordon Goldberger, Pierce William Gregory, Andrew Charles Gillette, Joseph Scrimshaw Hall, Logan H. Lancaster, Bradley Owen Peterson, and Jack Worcester. Number 5 is consideration of appointment sworn weighers for the town of Sherborn. Chief Thomas Galvin will be here, and that appointment will be for Douglas Kingsley and John McGuire. Item 6 is review of town meeting timeline with a consideration of setting the opening and closing of the warrant. Item 7, consideration of routine business. Select board, town administrator with consideration of council appointment for cable contract renewal and consideration of interim finance director reappointment. Then adjourn to executive session under the following exemptions to return to open session afterwards. Item 1, to discuss strategy with respect to threatened potential litigation if the chair so declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the select board in the town, and the chair does so declare. To discuss the town library pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3 and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus DCAM 449, Massachusetts 444, year 2007. Item 2, strategy session to prepare for contract negotiations with non-bargaining employee pursuant to GL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 2 and 7, and Suffolk Construction v. DCAM 449, Massachusetts 444, year 2007, DPW Director. Item 3, strategy session discussion to prepare for negotiations with non-union personnel and or to conduct negotiations with non-union personnel and to obtain legal advice from town council pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 2 and 7, and Suffolk Construction v. DCAM 449, Massachusetts 444, year 2007, town administrator. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. All right, do I have any motions relative or modifications relative to the agenda, please? How about a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Okay, and the agenda as a whole. Okay.
The agenda as a whole.
Okay, very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Jeff?
Aye.
Marion?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
I am as well. Thank you very much. I understand we have no request for public comment, so I'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have any motions or changes relative to the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I think the only question I have is I think the 30th is a tentative one, right? If it's needed or whatever, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That'd be absolutely as needed.
I would second it.
Okay.
I was looking forward to a New Year's party on the 30th.
Yeah.
Aren't you guys on it?
I will be in Florida and I'm hoping not to be attending the meeting.
We should be joining you then. Okay, I had a second there, right? Okay,
Okay, I seconded it, yeah.
okay, all in favor of Jeff,
Aye.
Marion,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
George?
Aye.
I might as well. Okay, without any further ado, I'll go on to agenda item number 2, annual tax classification hearing. And look at that, we're after 7:05, so it's perfect timing. Wendy, are you on here? There you are. How you doing, Wendy?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening. There should be something in your packet that you need to open the hearing. It's just a small blurb that you need to read prior.
Eric, you need to read the legal posting that's in your packet.
Okay. The Sherborn Select Board will hold a virtual public annual tax classification hearing via Zoom on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 at 7:05 to discuss whether all 5 classes of property, residential, open space, commercial, industrial, and personal, shall be taxed at the same rate or at different rates for fiscal year 2022. Interested Sherborn taxpayers are welcome to attend the hearing via Zoom, during which both written and oral statements will be accepted and taken into consideration. All right, that's all I had.
Yes, okay, good evening. My name is Wendy Alassi. I'm the Director of Assessing. First, I would like to report that our projected preliminary tax rate for fiscal 22 is $19.03. It went down by 60 cents. So that is a very positive thing. There have been, as everybody knows, significant increases in sales prices, which means increases in assessed values. Just to give you a brief overview, in 2020 is what I had to base my analysis on for this year. Sales of 2020, there were 83 arm's length sales for single family homes and 17 condos that sold. Out of the single family homes, the average sale price was $925,000. In 2021, just to give you an idea of the market increase, in 2021 so far, 74 single family homes have sold, and the average sale price is $1,070,000. So that's significant. There will be increases in tax bills if you have a $100,000 increase in your value. That's going to be $19.30. I mean $1,930. So it's significant. But that's where the values are going. I'm glad that we were able to get the rate down. And next year, the values will be increasing again. But what we're really here for tonight is for the select board to determine if they would like to keep a single tax rate. We've never had a split rate. The surrounding communities, the only surrounding community that has a split rate, as Eric knows, is Framingham. And in a community like Sherborn, I say this every year, it does not make sense. It harms the business owners and farms. And so that is your decision to make. I had a discussion with my board members and they recommend keeping a single rate. And so I just need you guys to make a motion to decide if you'd like to keep a single rate, which is a factor of 1. And also if you would like to offer a residential exemption, which doesn't make sense for our community. That's more for second home communities, or a small commercial exemption, which doesn't make sense because we don't have enough businesses in town. So, yeah, so Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah,
This
do.
is a public hearing, so I just want to make sure, just as officially hearing, we'll take
Oh,
questions from the
sure.
board, and then I'll take questions from the public. So, yeah, go ahead, Paul. Just follow the hearing process.
So I've always supported a single tax rate, but I am curious about two things, make comments on two things. First comment is, how much of our tax base are utilities with the high power wires and all of that, which I think would fall under personal property, right?
Yes, commercial, industrial, and personal would be a commercial rate, correct. Our overall assessed value for personal property is $40 million.
And there has been a big jump from last year, I think, to this year in
Correct.
that value. And I know statewide that there's a big push for higher taxes on utilities. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we can do a split rate for the utilities so that they pay more.
I believe that the motion that you have to make is for commercial, industrial, personal property. I don't believe that you can just choose for personal property. And the utility increase that you're talking about on the state level, I know you're well aware of the issues surrounding it. And as of right now, we don't even know if we're able to, if we're going to end up in some sort of a settlement with the utility companies, if the appellate tax board or the SJC is going to rule in their favor, and we may have to refund some of the money. So there's an
That's why I
issue
was-
with that.
That's why I was hoping for a backup plan. I'm aware of all the litigation that goes on,
I know.
but there's a backup so that we don't have, if the municipalities lose and we all cities and towns have to do a refund, it would be better if we had some of the way to pick up more revenue from that source. My other comment was that the new growth factor was tremendous, given what I saw of the trend in the history. I'm used to seeing 170, 200, but we're well over 600,000. That's really wonderful news. Is that reflecting the new affordable housing projects in town, or is that single family homes, or what is that
Yes.
attributable to?
So what makes up about $25 million of our growth is all of the condominiums at Southfield were 100% complete as of June 30th, as well as 59 North Main. There was 12 units, 10 are 100%, 2 were at 85%. So we've picked up all of that new growth. There was a new home built on Rockwood. There's some construction on Ash Lane. So you're picking up your normal additions and new construction that way. But the biggest point I'd like to make is at town meeting, it was voted to give me the authority to data collect and collect new construction up until June 30th. Had the town not voted on this bill, it's called chapter or an act, it's called Chapter 653 Hopkinton Act, where it allows the assessor to collect new construction till June 30th and begin taxing July 1, or in the fiscal year, we would have had to wait an additional year for all of this growth. So that vote, and just so everybody knows the support that I received from advisory, from my board and the select board and town meeting member or town. This is a direct result of passing that bylaw.
Excellent. And so one other comment is that I see that we are not using our full levy capacity. In other words, we have the ability, given the appropriations that were voted at town meeting, to actually spend more money. And we forbore from doing that. We did not spend all we could spend. And so there is an unused levy capacity, I think, of 1.6 million, which is good news for the taxpayers and for the community that we have that reluctance to go to the full extent of what we could tax. And for that, I commend the advisory committee and the select board and all the budget makers for being.
That's been true. That's been true for 4 or 5 years, I think. Stephen Sy can correct me, but we haven't used the full levy in 4 or 5 years, I believe, Paul.
But I think this is the highest number I've seen, 1.6 million seems.
It's a very high number. Yes, yes, it's great.
All right, I see 2 other people, select board members with their hand raised. I'd like to take them in that order, appropriate, and thank you both for using the virtual hand. Marion, you're next.
Yeah, I have a fairly simple clarification question.
Sure.
You list on the first page of your report, the class 2 is open space. Is that privately held open space above and beyond the zoning minimum, or is that conservation open space?
So we in Sherborn, we do not have what's called open space. That's called class 200. That is when a town adopts the community preservation. And that's something that Paul Durensis is very knowledgeable about. But so in Sherborn, we have the 100 class codes, which is residential, 300, which is commercial, 400 industrial, and 500 codes are personal property, but we have no 200 codes.
Okay, I was just wondering why it's listed there then, you know.
We have to, yeah.
Okay, George, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on something Paul brought up, and because I had to bring it up because I used to harp on it when I was on advisory, is the new growth number. And that's tremendous to see that, you know, there's been a lot of fight against development in town, but you can see that smart development can really help our tax rate. So I think I just want to throw that out there that, you know, not all development is bad. If we can manage it and really see the effects of it, that our tax rate's just over $19, which is tremendous because we were worried about going over 20 not long ago. I think we were over 20 at one point, and now we're approaching going under 19 if we can keep going in the same direction. So I applaud that. I applaud the fact that we can be progressive and make some change in Sherborn and not always just say no.
Thank you very much. Okay. Oh, Marion, yeah, please go ahead again.
Just one more question. I'm new at this, so you probably all know the answer but me. Is the addition and expansion of houses included in that new growth?
Yes.
I presume all the new growth is construction growth. It's not just inflation growth, correct?
Absolutely, yes, correct. Additions, central AC, pools, sheds, garages, any sort of new structure. And also, believe it or not, if a parcel of land is split, that's considered new growth. Any new utility, and I submit a listing over to the Department of Revenue. They review it and they certify what we've included.
Right, so a new buildable lot is considered new growth. Is that correct?
Correct. If it's split, yes, correct. If you took a 3-acre lot, divided it into
Yeah, you created another lot.
3-acre lots, you would get, right, correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Which brings up a question, I guess, for me. I didn't have a question until Marion asked that one. So obviously, we've seen all over the region, all of America, increase in housing prices. Sherborn feels as though it's been proportionally almost greater than some of the surrounding areas. That's just simply that's not captured in new growth, but it's just an increased number per se.
Yes, that's an
That's reassessed.
increase in structure.
Okay.
And yes.
As we reassess. Okay, I'll take questions from the general public. I ask that people please use the raise hand feature that's on your Zoom. We all have difficulty seeing people just kind of wildly shake their hands at the screen. If you can't find your raise hand feature, then shake the hand. We'll do our best to find you. I don't see anyone. Right, because it's such good news that no one ever has anything to say when it's good news.
I might hear when the tax bills go out, but otherwise everything's great. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
So we need to make a motion.
Right.
Eric, I'll make a motion
Yes.
to
Yes, you
make a
do.
motion to keep a uniform tax rate for fiscal year 2022 and not in, what was the other part, Wendy? Not in residential
Offer a
exemption
residential exemption and a small commercial exemption.
or a small commercial exemption.
Okay, so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion second. So all in favor, Jeff,
Right.
Marianne,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
and I'm as well. Thank you very much, Wendy.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
Wendy.
much. Take
Great
care.
job.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Good job.
Thanks, Wendy.
Okay, so moving on. The agenda item here for the Sherborn Yacht Club, an update to be presented by John Hyde and possibly complemented by Sean Colleen. I'm not sure. Yeah, I do see him on here. So why don't you go ahead and start, John?
Okay, so back in 2019, we worked out a lease agreement with the town and to relocate to town land, which we were excited about. And then that same year in 2019, we attempted to relocate to town land. And in the spring of this year, we discovered that we were actually not on town land and that we had moved a little bit further over on Artemis's property, closer to town land, but not quite on town land. So
And just to clarify for the public, John, I just want to, sorry to interrupt you, clarify. You're talking basically about the yacht club shed, right?
Yes,
Or they're
correct.
just the
Yep,
structure.
yeah, the yacht club shed building. So, the responsibility belongs to the yacht club for that mistake. And so our plan is to continue to move over to town land, just to continue what we had planned on doing per the lease agreement that was executed back in 2019. So we're hoping to do that by the end of this year, and then we would restore Artemis's property back to its original condition.
Okay. Who is sharing? Who has the control of the pointer? Is that you,
Sean
Jeff?
just shared
I think
that.
Sean is.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Barely.
No,
Barely?
No,
we
I
can
think
see
you're
it, but
fine.
you might need to zoom in, I think is what Marion's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
So
I've
that's
got a zoomed up image.
That's
I
better.
can-
One more
I
time?
can see it fine. Looks
One
huge.
more time.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you
So-
see is the hard line through the middle is the lot line. And that's been confirmed. That was actually staked earlier this year by Artemis surveyors and then confirmed on behalf of the town by GLM engineering. There's a dash line here that's the 20-foot setback for the side setback. You can see above is the existing shed, the dock, and which is dashed out. And then you can see a new location for the shed. I know it's hard to see because this is a topo plan, but this is the ramp. You can see my pointer, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the paved ramp that leads down to the water and the approximate water line. So you can picture that it's just further up the path, about where the gate is now. We'll move the gate, which was actually Artemis's gate at the end of that path. And then, of course, the dock will move with about the same amount as the shed.
Okay. So I guess as up to us the questions now. So I guess my only question is just on the timing of this.
Well, I think potentially do it this year in the next month. Obviously we've got some weather concerns, and so ideally we can get everything all buttoned up and make the move before the end of this year. So that way, our main goal is we want to be ready to go in spring next year for takes a little bit to get set up to run the school. So we'd like to be reestablished in the new location and get everything so we can focus on getting the programming and registration going for the sailing school and get everything else all set for the 2022 season. So ideally we get it done in the next month.
Okay. Marion, I see you have a question.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One is, at some point before we finish, I'd like to hear from Artemis. Because not long ago, we were hearing that a possibility was an easement with some compensation to Artemis if you decide that you'd rather not move the yacht club shed and the docks. So I would just like to hear, his take on this solution. My second comment is that the shed, as drawn on GLM's plan, is positioned such that it cuts across several topo lines. There's it's positioned such that it doesn't maximize it doesn't minimize, I should say, the disturbance of the slope the way it's planned. So it seems that it really should be rotated such that it lines up with the topo lines. It's much less disturbance of land. So that's, and also as drawn, you can, maybe this is just hypothetical, but as drawn, the front steps and porch of the shed, which is really a nice feature of it, extends most of the way across that paved path. And there's a pinch point between the deck as shown and the nearest large oak tree, which I'm sure you don't want to take down. So it seems to me the position of the shed still has to be moved a bit, rotated at least.
Yeah, it's Sean zooming in there. It's a tight, we were down there quite a bit, Sean and I, and we met GLM down there, their topographer, to try to site the thing to where, we had a couple objectives. One was to minimize the disturbance, and two was to give a view of the docks, which is
Yeah, I figured it was the view of the docks that drove
we
it.
have a lot of kids out there, so we want to be able to have safe access off the front of the shed over to the docks and to be able to watch the activity that's happening. You got a lot of kids coming and going. We had like 200 kids this year, so it gets pretty busy if you haven't been down there in the daytime. And the other concern was to keep the floats away from the boat ramp so that we weren't interfering with the boat ramp traffic going in and out and the swimmers going in and out to the pond. So we kind of figured that while there might need to be a little regrading, overall it wouldn't really negatively impact any of the biology or the ecological features of that area. It would just be a minor little
Right, but according to this
leveling
map,
work.
the pathway, which is a nice width right now, you can accommodate boats and accommodate people, is way too narrow to accommodate a boat. So
right, yeah.
unless you take down that oak tree, which you don't want to do.
Right. Right. There would obviously need to be a little finessing to just sort of make this. It's a very congested area, and also the stairs we built because there was a grade differential there that would made the stairs necessary. We ended up liking them. They were great to have all the kids lined up for school and stuff like that. So we'd like to be able to have them, but I'm not sure that they would be 3 or 4 steps as they currently are. Might end up being 2. So we could potentially tuck it back a little bit or move it over a little bit more towards the ramp just to make it fit in there. But
or take some of the stairs,
make the Sean did
shorter.
The path was definitely improved. It was in very rough shape a couple of years ago, and it's now pretty well compacted and much more accessible than it had been in the past. So the condition down there, there's sort of a berm by the water, and then it kind of levels out over towards the that 97 contour that you see. So our goal would be to make it so, like you say, be safe, access in and out of the club, and also, just try to tuck the shed back in there so it's has good vision of the docks, and then also keeping an eye on the boat ramp a little bit.
Right, okay, but you get my point. That'll have to be
Right.
modified a little bit.
Yep.
So if I can, I have one more question, a quick one. Your, the GLM map that we were given does not show that deck that was installed last summer to
Oh,
the
right.
north of the shed. Are you going to try to move that, or?
That actually was that was our old ramp. We just kind of placed that there temporarily. Once we discovered that, we had plans of refining that area, but when we discovered we were still on Artemis's property, we kind of threw everything on hold and just put that there as sort of a temporary seating area.
Oh, okay.
So we would have to,
yeah.
we'd have to work through that.
That'll go away.
Yeah.
My last question is really the most important, and that is, what are your plans for reconstituting Artemis's property back to as close a natural state as possible? I mean, you're not going to be able to do it in December.
Right.
And, so what's the plan for that?
I'd say, we would try to fill it back and grade it out a little bit and get it prepped for, have it be nice and stable for the winter. Not much would be happening over the winter. And then in the spring, we'd have to do some sort of plantings and things in there just to get it back to reestablish the, natural vegetation. So we'd have to do that in the spring once the weather would be permitting.
And you'd have to remove the stone path.
Yeah, we could, if we could do that, we could certainly pull the path back.
Maybe that would be up to Artemis if he wants a path there or not. But, okay, that's
All right.
all I
Yeah,
have
Sean,
for
if
now,
Sean
but
has it there, if you could see, we could basically reconnect those contour lines and
right.
there was, just mulch it and plant some stuff there to sort of reestablish the bank.
Okay, so I see George has his hand raised. I'll recognize him. At some point, part of Marion's question, she actually wanted to direct something toward Artemis, but I do want to at least hear from the select board member. So I'll hear from George next. And then if there's no other questions, I'll see if Artemis wishes to speak to address Marion's question. So go ahead, George, please.
Thank you. I just want to support this plan that we move everything to town land. I think that was when we talked about this 2 or 3 years. I don't remember when it was, 3 years ago or whatever. The whole plan was to keep the yacht club on town land because it's such a great asset to the town. And the fact that we can do that without depending on any private citizens or making any deals with private citizens, I think we should support this and make sure that this entity, the Sherborn Yacht Club, can continue as successful as they've been and have it on town land where they don't have to worry about anything in the future. So, thank you.
Okay. Very good. Now, Jeff, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I concur with George's recommendation. I just wanted to point out, I think, and Sean and John can correct me, but I think this is unfortunately, we have Concom meeting on the same night again with us this week. I think it's on their agenda tonight also.
Correct.
Is that correct, Sean or John?
Correct. I believe Joyce is going to speak on behalf. I'm going to be in that meeting in a few minutes to talk about something else.
Yeah.
Which is again why they shouldn't be having meetings the same night as us, but
I know. Well, see, what the problem is, we went to every 2 weeks and they went to twice a month. And so it keeps iterating.
Right.
So, anyway, I just want to point out that was still a discussion to.
Right. And that's important to keep in mind because we have an open order of conditions from when we started this process with Mass DEP. So that's still open. And this falls under it. So it's being presented as no change. It's just continuing.
That's good. It's easy. All right. Without any further hands raised from the select board, I'll address Mary Ann's request. I guess Artemis, I see you there. Do you wish to speak on this? I saw him there. Is he still there? There.
Yeah, I have 2 comments. One is the yacht club has been on my property since I bought my property. And I support the yacht club very, very passionately. I do feel that as a public statement about this process that that this was a difficult process for me to understand how the shed was located without a survey and how COMCOM approved it without a survey. I just want to make note that that process has caused me a lot of heartburn and difficulty, and that I really think you need to put a better process in the future. Even in locating the shed over more, I would like to be notified formally before the placement of that shed is done. The other thing is, I don't think it's going to be very, I don't agree that it's easy to restore what my property could have looked like before this occurred. There were a couple trees cut down. There was a lot of digging that went into my property. For 2 or 3 days, there was a Komatsu digging away without any knowledge on my behalf. And I think that's not just the Sherborn Yacht Club's error. It was also an error in town process. It has been a very difficult process of trying to understand how I could support the yacht club, but also feel like I've given and given and given and given, not just to the yacht club, but to this town, and not really to feel like I am being fairly compensated or even acknowledged. And I would like that just to be part of the public record, that I'm happy that it's moving off my land, but in the future, I want to know exactly where it's going to go. And I really think that the disturbance is much more than just a little bit of landscaping. And so I think it's important for the town to take responsibility for not doing this in a way that respected my land and me as a 24-year-old, 24 years of paying taxes and living in this town. I feel disappointed, and I feel this is the right solution, but I also feel like I deserve better.
Well, I guess let me ask you, Artemis, have you seen any restoration plan, or would you like to see a restoration plan, or at least have an opinion, have input
Of
when you
course.
do the restoration?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. It's my property. I would hope you would make me the main object of a restoration plan. Yes, of course. I've never objected to any input. So yes, of course I would.
So I'll just put it, I guess, on John or Sean. Are you prepared prepared to work with Artemis on a restoration plan?
Yeah, okay, here's my raise hand thing. Yeah, so I just want to respond to Artemis, you know, it was the yacht clubs, we made the mistake. We located it in the wrong spot. We thought we had the right boundary, we didn't, and we thought we had a little extra buffer, we didn't. So we take full responsibility for that error. And you know, as everybody knows, the yacht club wouldn't exist if it weren't for farm ponds. So we're very ecologically sensitive, and you know, we've started an ecology program this year and monitoring the quality of the pond. So it's you know, our goal is to make the spot that we disturbed look as close as it can to its natural state. So we're not going to leave it as it is. And you know, we apologize to Artemis for any harm we might have caused him. It was a mistake, and so we'll get it straightened out. You know, there were no trees removed in the area of the shed. That was all soil, so we can put that back and restore the natural vegetation. And yeah, we'll plan to do that in the spring, and we can come up with a little plan, and we'll send that over to Artemis so that he can see what we plan to do and comment on it. And that's yeah, we don't have any problem proceeding in that direction.
Okay.
I think one request I would make to the town is that covenants be put into the relationship with the Sherborn Yacht Club. If you go down there today, there are boats everywhere, there's things everywhere, there's stuff on my property. I need as as the owner next to the yacht club, a greater sense of tidiness, as you see on the town docks. And I really think that the town is incumbent on the town to require in your relationship with the Sherborn Yacht Club that the property be maintained in a neat and tidy way, and to provide storage for boats and whatever needs to happen. But right now, if you go down there, it's not the way it should look if you're, you know, respecting my property. It should be better organized, in my opinion. And I would like the town to be to monitor this in the future. So in giving a lease to the yacht club, that there's some requirements for how the yacht club is maintained after the season.
I see Mary Ann. Oh, no, actually, go ahead and respond, John, and then I want
No,
to.
I want to respond. So, you know, we did, you know, when we realized we were on Artemis's property, we did pay back rent for the past few years. So we caught 2019 and 20, we hadn't paid him. So we did pay him, and we paid him through the end of 2021 to be able to use that piece of land as we had been. And this year was a little bit different. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern, trying to figure out the move and where we're going to put all the stuff. We didn't want to put it in the way of the move. So this is a little bit of an off-speed situation that we're in right now, as we're just trying to, it's a congested area. We've got boats. We're volunteer labor, so we don't want to be moving them around too many times. We like to keep things as ship shape as possible, which is I think evidenced by the new boathouse and the new floats and things looking a little bit better than they had in the past. So you know, that's our goal, is to be able to provide you know, a little bit, you know, we're hoping to, you know, settle into a new home permanently so we can organize all our stuff a little bit better. That's part of our whole mission, is basically revolving around keeping things neat and tidy out there. So that shouldn't be a problem moving forward.
Mary Ann, please speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to ask about the financing plan for this move. It's not going to be cheap. And I'm concerned that I'm assuming the yacht club is going to try to pay for it.
Yes, that's correct.
And so I'm concerned at how much money will be actually left over to do a proper reconstitution of Artemis's land. It's not going to be a simple project, as we've heard from Jeff and others, I think. So how much do you expect the move is going to cost, and how much do you have budgeted for the restitution?
We have, you know, we had a good year last year. So obviously our main goal is to invest that stuff in equipment and programming, but we've got plenty of money earmarked to get the bank restored. You know, we've had Artemis was a good benefactor for many years, and we value the relationship that we've had over the years. So we're not going to leave Artemis hanging. We're going to restore the land, and we have money to cover the restoration work. Saved up. We were saving money to potentially buy the piece of land that didn't work out, and so instead we can allocate that money to restoring the land and moving the shed.
And will you have a restoration plan that Artemis can review?
We don't have one currently, but we can work something up.
I think there should be one.
Yeah.
I mean, Concom will require a lot of stuff, and Farm Pond Advisory, maybe groundwater protection, should check it out. So I just think we should do it right.
Yeah, we're in pretty close contact with FPAC all year on their new programming that we've done. So we can make sure that we're taking all the right steps on that.
If I could, real quick,
Go ahead.
GLM did draft up a grading plan that shows the cut and fill for the area and the restoration as far as grading for the topo. I didn't really think it was relevant to share here. It doesn't look a whole lot different to most people than this plan, but we do have that plan, And most of this is not vegetated. This is a steep hillside. So there's not much vegetation on the side of that hill. What we need to do is restore it this, I want to say fall, maybe into winter, and keep it, from eroding, which is what it's doing now. It's not eroding now. We don't want to make it worse, but we do want to make the move. So we're not trying to do it in the heavy rains of spring. It's important to not delay that part of it, or we'll be looking at April, May, June when no one really wants to be working at the pond. The restoration is one thing, but the heavy excavation you'd much rather do in the winter, as long as we don't have frost.
So I
Eric,
muted myself. I was plugging my, I had to plug in my laptop. I was running out of battery. So sorry about that. But I heard everything Sean said, and I agree that actually it now is a good time to do it versus like the sloppy, muddy springtime. No question about that. I see Paul DeRensis has his virtual hand raised and physical hand. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I had both up. Wanted to say three things. First, how important and how much the town should be valuing the relationship with Artemis. He has borne a lot for the greater good of the community. So I, for one, and I think I can speak for the board, that we're very grateful for Artemis and for his willingness to allow the yacht club to be there and for these amenities and public recreation to have occurred. The second thing I wanted to mention is that there should be a lease agreement with the yacht club for the relocation. And I'm wondering if I could see a copy of that lease to see if I could make any suggestions that would make it work better for both Artemis and for the yacht club and the town, so that perhaps things would be more clearly defined. The lease agreement should have defined where the property lines were and where the shed was going to go, things like that. So apparently that didn't happen. So I wonder if I could get a copy of the lease and see what I can do to help contribute towards making this better.
I'll just jump in there. I think David or Diane can provide the lease. I'm not, and keep in mind that our actions here are yacht club, whatever the actions here, I believe broke the lease. So I don't know if there's an issue with the lease, but I'm sure we can provide you a copy to look at it. I think it's issues with the actions, not so much the lease. I don't think this was done consistent with the lease. But I'm sure Diane and David can provide a copy of the lease.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions from the select board here? Okay. Anything further else? I encourage John.
Can I just clarify before we end this conversation?
Yep.
Looking at the map, where exactly will the shed go according to this map? Will it just be placed on the other side of the line? How will it? Can you
The map
show,
shows
John?
the proposed location of the shed. If you look at the map, there's a clear.
I'm looking at the map.
shed.
I see.
Sean,
Okay, I don't.
Sean, do you have the
I
pointer? You
can-
can point to him where that is
I
clearly.
can clarify. Artemis, can you see the existing shed on the map that's on the screen?
Yeah, I see the existing shed. Yep.
So there's dark line below that. That's the lot line,
Right.
which has
Right.
been confirmed by Samiotis and GLM. And then if you look
Yep.
down lower, you'll see a 20-foot setback line.
Okay.
And then if you drop down just below that, you'll see a box that says proposed shed locations just to the plan west of that rock area. So it's down pretty much right off the boat ramp.
Right off the boat ramp. Okay, got it.
Yeah, the contours on the bottom where you see that's edge of bituminous pavement, so you can't really see it. And you can just barely see the bottom of it, and then you can see the path. That's the gravel path. And then where it says pond, that's the water. And we would slide the docks down and try to find a spot where we could, put that and find our way to shore there.
Artemis, if you're speaking, you're muted. We can't hear you.
No, I see where it is. And yep, okay, great. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Thank you all parties involved here. Look forward to resolving this certainly, hopefully this year. Okay, I think probably moving on to Concom, we'll probably move on to agenda item number 4.
And just one second, Eric. Hey, David, I think Sean had to jump on Concom, so
I'm still there, I think.
we needed to unshare. That's all.
You just did.
Sorry, I'm trying to listen to two at the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Artemis, for the hospitality on your land for so many years.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. We have a agenda item number 4, consideration of Eagle Scout proclamations. I guess there are several Boy Scouts that have attained the rank of Eagle. There'll be a ceremony on January 9th, 2022. I believe Paul DeRensis, Paul, you wanted to speak on this or read the proclamation?
I did want to read the proclamations, but I would like to defer to Jeff to maybe describe what the projects were. The projects are a benefit both to the Eagle Scout applicant and to the community. These are good projects. So Jeff, could you take a minute and
Yeah,
tell
I
us what-
actually, the funny thing is, because of COVID, this is actually about 2.5 years worth of Eagle Scouts. Because what happened is they, when you go through the whole process and the council has what's called a court of honor to approve you as an Eagle Scout. And then you're officially an Eagle Scout, but Sherborn is pretty well known for having a very formal process, which is called an Eagle Court of Honor. And Paul has been attending those longer than I've been involved in Scouts in town, and that's 25 years. So he always reads it. We've had, David Linsky comes every time, and a couple of the ministers in town come. So the ceremony is kind of a big deal. And so I actually can't remember all of the individual projects here because it's 2.5 years. I think you'll all know Andrew Gillette was the drone video of town was created there. And I believe Logan Lancaster, he built a bat rack for the baseball field at the high school. Bradley Peterson's project was actually in conjunction with Zach Ward in the fire department. He gathered a team of scouts together to survey every single house in town to make sure that their street number was on the mailbox or highly visible, so that if the emergency responders were trying to locate it, particularly at night or in a storm, it would not delay them in responding to a emergency situation. So I honestly apologize that I can't remember all 7 of them. And then I would add that there is a possibility that we'll have an 8th one by January, and we're working on that right now. So we have a number of projects going on, and Eagle projects going on right now, including one at the boat ramp. So, and another one at the new boat washing station at the entrance to the farm pond. So it's pretty active troop, and I'm the chair of the troop committee. That's why I'm somewhat involved.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, I want to compliment Jeff on what he's done for the Scouts. He's been doing this for years and years and years to the benefit of the community and for the Scouts. So all the proclamations are the same. It's just the names that are different. And the proclamations don't describe the particular projects. But here's what we're asking the board to vote. 7 proclamations that says as follows: Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Sherborn, a proclamation. Whereas, and then the name of each individual Eagle Scout appears, has earned the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas This accomplishment symbolizes his creative examples of service, strong leadership, and organizational skills, which have made a difference in our community. And whereas, in the name of the Scout, has demonstrated his ability to set a goal and exhibited a personal desire and tenacity to follow through successfully. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Sherborn, on behalf of all its residents, extend their congratulations and best wishes on this occasion of the Eagle Scout Awards ceremony, in witness whereof we have caused the seal of the town to be affixed to this proclamation on the second day of December in the year 2021. And then follows 5 signatures: Eric Johnson, Jeffrey Waldron, Marion Nutra, Paul Durensis, and George Morrow. So I'd like to move the adoption of these proclamations.
Thank you very much, and so moved.
Second?
Second by Jeff. All in favor, Jeff,
Aye.
Marion,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and George,
Aye.
and I as well.
I was
Congratulations to all of you. Go
I was
ahead, Paul.
gonna add one more point, Eric, just so people understand. This is terrific that we provide these proclamations. They get a signed proclamation from every living US president, from every federal representative, senator and representative from the state of Massachusetts, and every local congressperson and state senator also provide proclamations, and they receive a flag that was flown over the US Capitol. They have a process where it's only flown briefly, but they get a flag, a US flag that was flown briefly over the US Capitol.
Wow.
As part of the ceremony. So the proclamations part is kind of a big deal.
That's huge. That's great. Absolutely,
Thank you.
very well deserved. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the to the earners of the Eagle Scout as well. And thank you, Paul, for reading that. All right, moving on. Agenda item number 5. Excuse me. Consideration of appointment for sworn weighers for the town of Sherborn, presented by Chief Thomas Galvin, before Douglas Kingsley and John McGuire. I guess, Chief, are you on?
I am here. Good evening,
You are.
everybody.
How you doing?
So, I think this may sound unusual maybe to everyone. I just want to give you a little background on what this is and what the purpose is. So for years, actually, and you may know, Lieutenant Bento has done truck enforcement here in town, very successfully. And part of that is weighing vehicles. And in order to weigh vehicles, you actually have to be appointed by the community to do that. So a couple of weeks ago, actually a week and a half ago, Officer McGuire and Officer Kingsley attended a intense training on weights and measures for commercial vehicles. So the process tonight would just be to appoint them as weighers, and then they would be sworn in by the clerk and able to continue kind of the tradition of truck enforcement here in Sherborn. That's one thing, even in my short time, that I have heard is a concern, and it allows us to continue that program. One thing that is different from some traditional enforcement, when we as police officers write civil motor vehicle citations, those fines are generally split between the state and the community when fines are paid. When they're weight violations, actually 100% of that fine comes back to the community. So it's things that can be used for other things to, repair or repave roads that are damaged by overweight trucking.
Very good. And just to clarify real quick, mate, it's basically, do you weigh all 4 wheels or whatever it is, or all 6 wheels, whatever, under one pad, or how is it executed?
Yes, actually, Officer McGuire is with me, not to totally put him on the spot, but I can let him explain a little bit about what the class entails.
So right now, Lieutenant Bento has 4 Haney scales. And so what you do is you put you have, put them underneath the wheel, have the driver drive on, and then we have plywood to level out the other wheels to make sure that there's no weight shifts. And then you just swap the scale and the plywood to weigh, and you just tally everything up at the end to get a
Okay.
gross weight and an actual weight.
It makes sense. We have a bylaw that we have actually it's not a state law. We also have a bylaw that protects us as well. Go ahead, Paul.
I just wanted to explain to the residents who are listening that there are many heavy trucks that go through Sherborn. And this has disturbed many residents. And we've had a fair number of complaints over the years of these overweight, heavy, large truck vehicles, many carrying automobiles and other additional cargo. And this has been one way that we've had to try and bring some peace to our neighborhoods.
I agree. And protection of our infrastructure. In recent years, we've been spending beyond our Chapter 90 allocation using, capital funds to actually keep our roads in shape. And it shows they are in far better shape than they were 10 years ago. No question about that. And this protects that asset. That's an asset of the citizens. All right. Anything else from the board? Okay. Do I have a motion relative to the establishing these two officers as sworn weighers?
So moved.
All right. In a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Jeff?
All right.
Marion?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
And I am as well. Thank you, Douglas, John, and Chief Galvin.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on. Number 6, review of town meeting timeline, consideration of opening and closing on the warrant. Who's speaking on this? Is this David?
I will.
Jeannie said something earlier today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
The one thing we want to accomplish tonight is for the board to consider setting the open and closing date of the warrant. So you could open it tonight, and then we had a closing date of January 6th. So it would stay open, 30 days or so, which is consistent with past years. You don't have to approve the rest of this, as we're still working on, details in it. But the primary thing is the open and closing of the warrant that we wanted to get rolling on.
So moved.
You are correct. You are correct that we always seem to open it and close like the first week of January. But it always seems like in the first couple weeks of January, we still open and close because of a few other things rolling in. Do we want to just? I mean, what are the thoughts on the board? Does anyone care if we do that on January 6th, or we extend it a few meetings beyond that?
Well, our next meeting, our first meeting in January wouldn't necessarily be January 6th, right? Wouldn't it be if we do every other week? I mean, I guess.
It'd be mid-January. If we have December 30th, it would be the whatever.
13th.
14th or
13th, yeah.
Yeah. 13th and 27th after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we should coordinate so we don't, I mean, not that we should be dictating our schedule on the Concom, but they obviously don't seem willing to change anything. So we should try to not have meetings the same nights as them.
Yeah, I think they tried. It's just that like I said,
they didn't change a thing. They didn't try anything.
No, I just
No, we can't change is what they said.
I don't think that's true. But anyway,
well, we saw the letter from Neil, Jeff, that said, I'm not willing to change.
Anyway, I think it's probably better to have it a little bit further out because, the biggest thing I see is the citizens petitions. They don't realize that if they want to have a citizens petition, our budget makers know, and they've been sort of planning this, but the citizens petitions always, they seem to get surprised by a January 6th due date or whatever due date it is.
And I'll hear from Mary in a second, but I want to agree that it does seem like we should make it on one of our meetings, which would be scheduled for the 13th or 27th. At least that's what I believe. I think it should be on one of the meetings. And people just lose track of the holidays. So I would recommend one of those 2 days. And as we think about that, I want to hear what Marion has to say.
I agree with that. I think the time window is much too short for most people. Even some boards and committees that might want to put forth a warrant article. You know, they're probably only starting to think about it now, and it's almost the deadline. I mean, really, it's coming right up. So I think the 13th, the meeting of 13th, if we have a meeting that night or the following one. But I also wanted to ask if there's any way that we can advertise more widely that this deadline is coming up, because there's a scramble, and every year, you know, I get people asking me, oh, I missed the deadline. When was it? So how can we just put that out there so that people know that it's coming?
I know David and I think Diane have reached out to individual department heads, or like conservation administrator and planning board administrator, so on like that. We're talking more for like a general public type of thing.
Yes, like the citizens petitions.
Yeah,
We can do the announcement in the paper. We could and post it a few more places, but that's really all we have.
All you can do
Should
is.
probably post it on
Besides the
Nextdoor, because
website.
most people read Nextdoor more than they do a paper.
Yeah,
Yeah. Jeannie can post it on Nextdoor.
yeah, that sounds like a good
maybe
idea.
on the town news of the website. So if you go to the website, it pops right up.
Oh, I think we do notify DSC TV too, and they have a slide.
Okay. That's my only comment.
Okay, that sounds very good. Okay, so it seems like we're positive around a couple dates. Does anyone have any strong feelings between the 13th or the 27th?
Just if you're talking about meeting on the 13th or the 27th, we'd rather have it closed before that meeting date, or do you want to vote to close it on that meeting date?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I mean, if you want to review anything on that 13th or 27th, we want to close it earlier to get the stuff in
I see
so we
what
can
you're
get
saying.
it out to you.
Close it the day before or whatever. If we're gonna close it on the 13th, close it on the 12th or something like that. Or if we're gonna meet on the 13th, close it on the 12th, so nothing comes in after our meeting that night.
Yeah, at least.
I think
I see.
the town budget makers know the dates, but the problem they have is they may not know the amount. Like Sean has to get quotes on a dump truck or something, you know. So sometimes I believe we can have it on the warrant, but we may have to refine the cost estimate associated with it.
We always have there is always a handful of placeholders,
Yeah,
usually for planning board and some of
Right.
the others, and capital items are certainly not going to be ready in January. We'll have an idea what it is and a ballpark price.
right. It's got to go to capital budget and everything else. Yep.
Yeah.
So if I could interject here, the basic problem I had with the schedule was that it was going to have us issue the warrant 9 days before town meeting. And I think the warrant needs to issue long before then, and long before advisory has hearings on articles that may or may not be on the warrant. So ideally, the warrant should be pretty much in final form in February. And then the question is, how long does it take us as a board to go through the warrant, pick out the articles that we want to have on the warrant, which ones we feel should be another year or whatever. The warrant articles themselves are only notice of a subject matter. They're like a select board agenda. So there shouldn't be amounts ever in a warrant. The amounts are in the motions that are made at town meeting. So if you count backwards and say, okay, sometime with the advisory hearing on March 28th, the warrant should issue like first week of March, so that the advisory can send out a notice that has some idea of what articles they're going to be holding the hearings on. That means we probably need at least 30 days to work on the warrant. So that brings us back to the first week in February. So a closing for citizen articles ought to be before then. So the 12th seems like a pretty good date. we've always taken government agency articles almost without regard to the closing of the warrant. The closing of the warrant's really for citizen articles. So we're supposed to have, like every town, have an article that basically says what will be the capital expenditures for the town for the upcoming year. And under that, you can list 1 or 100 different projects. But those details don't have to be part of the article. The article really is, what are the proposed capital expenditures for the town for the upcoming year? And the same thing with the budget. We have an article that says to adopt the budget. We don't need to have the whole budget in the warrant when we issue the warrant. That's really for the advisory, the budget makers, and the select board to work out those numbers over time. So we need to dissociate the process of finalizing the warrant and getting that posted from all the details. The details are for the motions. So I would urge a date like the 11th or the 12th before our meeting of the 13th. And then we get to work on figuring out what articles we want. There may be articles that didn't come from any of these other boards and committees that we, as the select board, believe ought to be on the warrant for good governance reasons or projects that we envision. So we ourselves need to go through a process of figuring out where we're going and what our goals are for the community and what articles we want to put on. And that should be in January.
I'll speak to that. We should actually be discussing that probably at our next meeting, because why shouldn't we follow the same rules as everybody else? Like, if we're considering some warrant articles, why wouldn't we be discussing it in December like anybody else? Like, let's maybe put an agenda item on our next meeting to discuss what warrant articles we want to consider from our board.
Makes
I
sense.
agree, George.
I think starting right now, George, every meeting we can have that standing agenda item,
Mhm.
because things will start coming in.
Right.
Good idea.
And based on what Paul said, it kind of brings us back to January 6th, I think, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, you propose a 6th, that gives you time to pull together everything to present to us in our background material for the 12th or the 13th, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, but you can do the 12th. Just understand that you're not going to have that much lead time to be reviewing it before the meeting.
Yeah. All right. So I guess what is the preference of the board? Does anyone else have opinions of 6, 12, whatever?
I would vote for the 12th, just to give citizen petition and other boards that may want to get just a placeholder in there, enough time between now and then to get it done. A little more time after the holidays gives them an extra week. And I think if we get it on the, on the 12th, if we get it on the 12th, we can, I would assume that the meeting on the 13th, when we review the warrant, it's not going to be a detailed review. We'll just see what's there, what's appropriate and what's not.
Outline.
So
If I could make.
I would actually just bump it by a day or 2 days, Marion, just because we do like to see things 48 hours before our meeting.
True.
Maybe
Okay.
we do the 10th instead of the 12th, and that gives people, the weekend, and it's a kind of a Monday. Gives Diane and David a chance to put it together in our agenda, so it's actually in our packet. I think
Yeah, that's correct.
The 12th.
Yeah.
I'm
I was
good
going to
with
suggest the
that.
same thing, because no matter what day you pick, 10th, 11th, 12th, they're all going to come in at 5 p.m. So you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it until the next day anyway. So I
So
agree
one
with
other-
you.
One other idea.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah.
For many years, the select board had this process of what we call notice of intent. The notice of intent was anybody who was thinking about an article would let us know that they were thinking of an article so that we could schedule it, monitor it. That doesn't mean that it would actually end up as an article. But if they needed council, town council's help, if they needed to do further research and so on, we would know what's out there without being surprised when the article finally matured to the point of arrival. So we had a form, we sent it out to everybody, all the town boards and committees. People filled it out, sent it back in. So we knew what other people were doing. Similarly, if we were looking at what articles the Board of Selectmen are doing, and we find that 4 other boards are all doing the same article that we're thinking about doing, it doesn't make any sense to have 5 identical articles. Maybe we could be a little more efficient and have one article that would take the intentions of 4 or 5 boards together. So what about re-employing that process?
In the past, it's time kind of keeps going later and later. So now, like, if you were going to send out an NOI notice now, it's overlapping with the open and closing of the warrant. And it did get confusing. So the NOI needs to go out much earlier if you're going to use the NOI, but we did get away from it, and I didn't see any problems, but I can see the benefit of sending it out much earlier. I just don't see the benefit of sending it out right now, because we're sending out the warrant form anyway.
Well, isn't it in the advisory guidance letter though? Don't they talk about it there too? I can't remember. Is it in there, Steve?
I don't remember.
Marianne, what do you have to say?
I just want to make a new point, a different point, regarding citizens petitions. You know, we had a couple last year, and I think one the year before, that were really, well, half-baked, to put it kindly. And I'd like to be able to avoid, you know, it's embarrassing for the citizens who sincerely are trying to do something but don't put it in a good form, and it's also kind of discouraging when these things get shut down at town meeting because they weren't well formulated. So I'm wondering if we could just think about a way when a citizen's petition notice comes in to maybe find a mentor who's been through the process of writing warrant articles to help them refine their warrant articles. So if it's a good idea, they're not getting shut down just because they didn't know how to do it.
So there's all kinds of legal problems with withdrawing an article that's already been submitted. That's why we had this notice of intent process. Once you got your signatures and the town clerk certified that you've got the requisite number of signatures, you must be on the warrant. And you can't change it unless.
Oh, okay, Paul. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
So what I do in other communities where I'm town council is they schedule a time with me and the public, and they can come in and talk to town council about what their ideas are. And I can steer them in the right direction and try and fix some of the stuff that really doesn't belong, belongs in Congress or the United Nations, but not necessarily for town government. Steer them in the right direction. But if you don't have that process, and the only time you see the article is when it arrives with the signatures, you have limited options.
Well, once the article arrives with signatures, it still can be modified before town meeting, right?
No.
It can't. Oh, okay. So, yeah.
They can go out and recollect signatures if they have to make a change to what they've petitioned. They also should be coming in when they pick up papers so that we know we have the wording at that point before they're going out and getting signatures. That helps a lot.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah, it should. I mean, that would be the
Not
point.
required.
You'd want to catch it. Anyway.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I just want to clarify something. So it looks like we're probably going to make a motion to do 10th or 11th or something like that. I think go in that direction. We'll probably entertain that soon. Paul, maybe I misheard you. So are you suggesting that you'll give help to citizens petitions or they'll be in their eyes? Maybe I kind of misheard that last
No,
statement.
no, I
but
was saying
kinda
like the towns that I work for
Okay.
hire me to sit in town hall for a day
Okay.
and have a parade of citizens come in and ask me for my opinion about what they're proposing to do and how to do it.
So Paul's not volunteering, he's proposing our town council get paid to do it.
Here's what I suggest. I think maybe
That our town council, but in order to do that, there needs to be an opportunity for people to submit their ideas to the town before submitting the warrant article.
so. I guess here's what I suggest. If someone can make a motion, maybe to close the warrant on the 10th. Let's just say 10th. Close the business at the 10th. I like the idea. Someone said they could work over the weekend and do whatever, but maybe you could select a sooner date as advertised. Call it an unofficial date for basically for legal review of citizens petitions, something like that. Does that seem to satisfy what we're looking for here?
Or maybe just review of citizen petition,
Yeah.
can be
Can I ask
partly
a question?
legal and partly just how to present it. Sorry.
Can I ask,
Yeah,
I
go
know
ahead.
Jackie's on here. Jackie probably usually gets bombarded with these. And I just wanted to ask her kind of how she handles it when people come in with these citizens petitions, because I know she does a lot of the counseling herself, so.
Jackie, you here?
Yes, hi, may I speak? Thank you. Yeah, so the last year's citizens petitions that came in, I highly encouraged them to talk to Gino and the planning board and zoning before they submitted their petition, and I believe that they chose not to do that. So I counsel everyone to try to get a sponsor, that is the best way to do the citizens petition, because they cannot reach out to town council, and a lot of times the language on the article is not correct or not possible. Like for instance, the school petition that was withdrawn with the time change, the way it was written, that they wanted the select board to basically dictate to the school board to not issue that, and that's an elected board, you guys can't do that. So I do encourage people to try to work with the departments in town that have the expertise, but not everybody not everyone follows my suggestions.
So let me just clarify something. Like, not for a second was I recommending any citizen should contact town council directly. But I was just simply wondering, is there some kind of thing where there could be an informal review, or if they give it 2 weeks ahead of time or something, or someone could at least look at it, the obvious errors? Because Marianne was right. We get some of them and they're just not written by professionals or well-intentioned people who have well-intentioned ideas, but they're just they're nothing we put in our bylaws, and stuff like that.
Right.
And Paul had an idea where he sits there for a day and he actually looks at them, whatever, whether we actually utilize that or something else, some opportunity where they're not expected to have, okay, this is it, it's a final, you're done, and that's it. And then there's, errors all over it. And then we kick it out because of that. It's almost like they have no chance. Is there any way that they can get it in by the 30th, December 30th? And we can actually guarantee them some kind of review, whether it's just like maybe 2 members of the board with town council or something like that, just to look at them. And I guess that question is also for the board as a whole as well.
I think what Jackie's doing is very good. It's a very good thing, Jackie, and I thank you for that. I didn't realize that you were doing it. But we may, since, they may think it sounds great, and they may think, I don't need help with this, it just sounds great. But they could use another pair of eyes on it. So, I mean, maybe depending on the subject, you could suggest someone that they should call or talk to before they go ahead with it. Or suggest a particular board that they should contact, something like that. I don't know, just give them a little more direction.
Maybe Eric, you can talk to Chris Petrini and see if he's willing to do something like Paul suggested.
Yeah.
Or be available, like say, here's a day, if anybody has citizens petitions that they want to talk to town council, here's like an office hours of 2 hours that they have available to talk to them.
Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to suggest.
Yep. I think
And what are
that's
your
not a
thoughts
bad
on
idea, so.
if there was a, I guess I could talk to them, a informal submittal, just maybe the select board's office by like December 30th, where we could take some opportunity to either look them over with council or something like that. I have a little concern them sitting across the table from council, but whatever,
I think you could coordinate it with Jackie, because probably Jackie sees these citizens petitions before anybody else, and she
Yeah.
can coordinate it with Diane or Chris Petrini's, whatever it is. I just, that's not a bad idea. I think Paul has, is for town council to be like, this thing, to be able to upfront, instead of everybody wasting their time on it all spring, say, this thing is so half baked, it doesn't make any sense because there's no authority here. Like Jackie said with that school time thing.
Yeah, I was going to formal, because when they submit it to Jackie, it's still a formal submittal, right? Like they can, that's when the pencils are down. Like I want some opportunity for them to submit it and then give our council like just some time to look at it. You know what I'm trying to say? I just kind of made up December 30th.
Yeah, I had one article.
Can they submit it to Jackie?
Oh, go ahead.
Can they submit it to Jackie informally? You know what I mean? Can they do that? So, yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
Okay.
And Paul.
So once if they submit it to me with signatures, I have to stamp it in, and that's an official submission. So if they just, I mean, I have had in the past, like last year, I had many phone calls from the residents that were submitting those petitions about what to do, what to write. And, but yeah, once they submit it with the signatures, I have to stamp that in, and it's a formal submission. So if they just bring me, the form or just the verbiage, then yes, I can bring it over to Diane or David and have them look at it. But once it's got signatures on it, it's done.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, Paul, what were you going to say?
So my experience is that the people who resist help are those who they're part of larger groups that are submitting the same article in multiple towns. And they think they've talked to council. I remember there was a series of articles calling for the withdrawal from Afghanistan about 10 years ago. And it was showing up in multiple communities. And I couldn't talk them into reasoning that the town had no jurisdiction over whether or not there were American troops in Afghanistan. But they felt if all the cities and towns in the Commonwealth took the same position, it would have this dramatic message to Washington and all that kind of stuff. And so we had to spend a couple of hours of people talking at town meeting about the war in Afghanistan. But most citizens are very grateful for the opportunity to have some guidance about how to do things. It's surprising to me, and continues to surprise me, how misunderstood local government is. A lot of people don't even know what a select board is, and they don't understand how local government works. And so when they're doing a citizen article, they do need help, and by giving them the help, you're helping democracy work. You're helping it protects the town in case the voters vote it. And if they vote for something that is a mess, we're stuck.
Okay.
We've got something now that's been voted that doesn't make any sense or contradicts other things in our bylaws, or or maybe unconstitutional. It just takes us down a path that's not a good one.
Okay, no, I think we got the point there. And people who don't want to review, that doesn't bother me at all if they don't want to review. What I suggest then is as a motion for the deadline to close the warrant on January 10th, close the business, close the town hall, and it gets 5 o'clock, and put an advertised informal submission by December 30th for unsigned warrant articles for just review of language. And we'll offer that service to people, citizens that want a review of language. So not sitting there fighting over letters and stuff like that. I'll talk to Chris and see if he can do that. And we can also maybe do it internally as well. Does anyone think that's a reasonable solution?
Yes, so moved.
Okay. So moved by Paul. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of Jeff?
Aye.
Marion?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And George?
Aye.
And I might as well. We'll work that out. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Jeannie. And thank you, David and Diane on this. So the season begins. Okay. So looking on that, we'll go on to our final agenda item for the open session, routine business. Are there any select board reports?
I have one quick one.
Yeah.
I was very pleased to attend the lighting of the menorah in Sherborn on Monday night. It was very nice. It was great that Sherborn is now being inclusive of the Jewish community. It meant a lot to my family and a number of other families that were there. So it was a very nice ceremony. It was freezing cold, but it was great that we do have the menorah in the middle of town, and I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank the families that came out to it.
Okay, very good. Yeah, absolutely. How about town administrator reports? There's something here in the background. David, do you have any report?
Yeah, there are just two items. One item is council appointment for cable contract renewal. This had originally started working on at KP Law, and when we had a switch to Petrini, it was discussed with Petrini that Bill Hewig at KP was well known for doing that. So that's who started working on it, was the person at KP, and that's how we've continued. But Paul reminded us that there is another attorney that had worked on this before. It just, he predates everyone. So we didn't really see his name around. So we looked that up and contacted the attorney, and he is interested in doing the work. And he sent us a proposal this week. So you can either vote to appoint him as counsel, or you can look at the proposal in the coming week and do it at the next meeting. It's not urgent that you have to vote and appoint it tonight, but.
So if I could supplement that.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we were originally doing the licenses, we had this attorney, Bill Solomon, and we had to do both Comcast, and then we had to do the Verizon Vios pieces. There were a lot of issues. Bill Solomon guided us through it. He's the architect for the licenses that we have in place now. Our licenses are excellent licenses on the scale of all the different licenses I've seen in different communities. Ours is way up there as excellent licenses because he was the architect. I mean, there were some difficult situations, but he was shoulder to shoulder with us. And I give him a lot of credit and a lot of praise for what he did for the town of Sherborn. And in view of that, in view of the excellence of the result, I think we should continue with him.
I mean, that would be my recommendation too. I just didn't know if you wanted to read through his proposal first or just go ahead and appoint the council. So you either have to appoint it tonight or at the next meeting.
Can I say, can we appoint it just under kind of a report like it is now? And you did like a true agenda item.
No, this is an appointment. It's consideration of council appointment. So yeah, you can vote under this.
Okay. Is there any motions relative to that?
Well, I'd move to appoint Bill Solomon.
Yeah, if he's interested in doing it, I would second that motion.
Yeah.
There it is there. All right. So all in favor, Jeff,
All right.
Marianne,
Aye.
Paul,
Hi.
and George.
Aye.
I am I as well. Okay, very good.
Thanks
Okay.
for making that change.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second item is consideration of interim finance director reappointment. This comes in front of you about every 60 days because the appointment is for 60 days and continues to go until you hire a full-time permanent finance director. So this would just be to extend Deb Seifring, the current interim finance director, another 60 days from the expiration of the existing time period.
So moved.
Second.
And I would say I'm quite pleased with her performance. I love the reports that she sends out, and she seems to be doing fine.
She's very thorough.
So one of the reasons we've been extending this, and maybe it's a bit of discussion under the town meeting warrant, is that we're looking to possibly modify the bylaw under this, whether CFO or finance director, just to restructure a little bit and to remake it what we want. Who would do that? Who's in charge basically of restructuring that bylaw?
I think that would come from our select board. We would probably, that's one of the warrant articles I wanted to discuss when we, probably at our next meeting, we should discuss. We want to have a warrant article related to the finance director position. And because it would come from the select board, I think.
That's what I was wondering. We're gonna take some time to review it and look at it and see what we want. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's George is right. It's in the past, it's been kicked out to a governance committee for review, but if you have a different direction to go, you're gonna need it coming from the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just some of the chain of command and some things like that. Not looking to radically change it, but kind of tweak it into something that, we think just, given our experience over the last several years with this position, that maybe want to do something a little different. It's an opportunity to do it now.
Right. And as I've referenced it before, I just look at it on a corporate structure. If you look at it on the town structure, a lot of times the CFO reports to the CEO, not the board of directors. So that's kind of the idea of having a finance director report to the town administrator rather than because they're an everyday CEO rather than the board of directors, who is in the case of the select board being a volunteer board that's not in the everyday workings of the town. So that's one thing I think we should consider when we're looking at a warrant article, changing the position of the finance director to report to the town administrator rather than the select board.
So I guess with the first, I'm just thinking my process on how to execute it. Put it on, I guess, we'll discuss it under the general warrant, under the next thing. Well, then we'll kind of decide like who makes the tweaks, who does what, and make sure you get it by December 30th for legal review. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Yeah, we should have it on for next meeting if we're discussing the warrant articles. That's a warrant article I would like to discuss. And
absolutely. No, I fully agree with that.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on it too, and I'm wondering if is that governance task force still in operation, or does that disband?
I can check with Corey. I'll ask, see if they're still in operation. I'll call her tomorrow and find out.
Because
as far as I know, it disbands.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of them.
I still like the idea of the treasurer. Be like in most corporations, the treasurer does still be as a kind of independent function. So
which it is still in town.
Yeah, I know. I just wondered if the governance task force had any say or not. Okay, thanks.
In fact, I think governor still recommended actually combining the treasurer and collector, I believe. I'm not sure on that. And as far as the finance director, I'm not sure if they actually dictated where it should report to, but we can also just read the report in of itself as well.
Right.
Also back on the agenda item. So Deb, is there any motions to nominate her for another 60 days?
I did
Paul already
already.
nominated and I seconded.
Oh, did? Okay, very good. Sorry. All right, the end of the discussion. All in favor, Jeff,
Aye.
Marion,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
I am, and George.
Aye.
I might as well. Thank you very much, Deb.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right. If there is no more further ado, we'll move on. We'll close the open session, move on to executive session. As chair, I declare that executive session is warranted for the agenda items and reasons as previously read by the town administrator. Do I have and I move that we move into executive, again, close open session, move into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Before we move into executive session, I do want to acknowledge the bad penny that doesn't ever go away.
Ah, that bad penny was banging on the door at me when I was at town hall the other day also.
The penny. I get too caught up in what I'm doing. I can't observe these things. That's pretty good. And it's like a wheat penny.
So,
Oh, yeah, wheat penny,
Eric,
old 1958. Yeah,
Eric,
Paul. Yep.
can you just modify your motion to say that the executive sessions as previously read by the town administrator?
Yep, I did.
Your motion was just to go into executive session, but you need to have grounds. I'm sorry to sound like a lawyer, but the grounds that have been read by the town administrator when we set up the agenda.
Yep, no, I did say that. I did say as previously read by the town administrator. For the
Okay,
agenda,
great.
as previously read by the town administrator.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Well, let's see, recording's off, it looks like. You turned it off, David?
I think it's still on.
We have to vote.
That's right. I want to do that. So I'm going to do the vote right now.
All right.
All in favor, Jeff,
Aye.
Marianne,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and George.
Aye.
All right.
The recording's still
Executive
on.
session. Okay.
Hold
Jeff,
on.
look for Rick now.